Hello, dear friends. My name is OGTorsunov. I am from Russia. I am a doctor, and I want to introduce you to a highly effective method of treatment and prevention of coronavirus, which does not require taking medications in. Sounds intriguing, but such a technique does exist, and we need your help for us to implement it, and in this way, maybe even help millions of people. So, in 1992, I received higher medical education in Russia, in Samara Medical Institute, majoring in medical science. Then I went through several specializations in reflexology, general medicine, public health. In 2010, I began to write a dissertation in public health discipline on the topic of healthy lifestyle, and in 2012 I successfully defended it in Moscow. But today we're going to talk about something else. I also have a passion for Ayurveda, reflexology, and different types of traditional medicine. I have been studying how different types of therapeutic intervention and exposure have healing effects, even if it is not completely clear to modern medicine. And along with this interest, I also do spiritual practice. And once for a few days, I came to get treatment from an unusual doctor. His name is Shyamasakhi. At that point, he was living in Vrindavan, Uttar Pradesh state, India, and he was treating people as follows. So there was an infectious hepatitis epidemic in India, and he would rub people with mango tree bark and was reciting a special mantra in order to treat them. He would accept up to 200-300 people a day, and then when people would come on the second or third day of their illness, they felt much better. They did not have yellowness on their skin, their stool normalized, they no longer felt weakness. And these are the main symptoms of infectious hepatitis. So for me, the effect was just astonishing. And from this time, it was 1995, I began to study all the different types of external modality on the body. And I began to tie different types of bark and medicinal herbs in order to understand how it all works. I noticed that if you tie flaxseed to a person's wrist or ankle, their skin state improves. And if you tie oats seed, it improves pancreatic functions, decreases sugar level in the body, improves cerebral circulation, and so on. Somewhere in 1997, I patented a method. It is called obligatory phytoreflexotherapy, and from that time I have conducted a lot of research, and we also host a festival named Goodness. It takes place at the Black Sea. There we teach people healthy lifestyle. And at the festival we had a problem. Every year there were some kind of respiratory infections, acute respiratory diseases and viral infections, flu. We had to make great efforts to make it possible for the people to get together in the halls and have yoga classes, listen to speeches. So I faced the task of making it somehow easier for the people and at the same time normalizing their vacation. I needed some technique that could quickly and effectively help people and at the same time would not require using some special medicines. Because healthy lifestyle implies that a person is not addicted to antibiotics and so on. I think those of you who practice yoga will understand what I'm talking about. And so I began to study how various types of conifers and other components affect viral infections. From ancient times, it is known that there are such talismans, trees talismans, that people would tie to themselves in order to protect themselves from the influence of evil spirits and various evil influences on the body. For example, neem tree has been used in India since ancient times, just like ginger, turmeric, and various other means. For example, one of the traditional means against viral infections on the territory of Russia is pine needles. It also strengthens immune system. I began to study these methods, and after some time we found out that if we select some particular components, among them there are bark, roots, needles of conifers trees, as well as ginger, turmeric, white pepper, yellow mustard, sagebrush. So these means affect infections even if you put, let's say, herbs on the body. It's not necessary to take them in. We found that every time some kind of seasonal flu begins, we had to find some special components which, mixed in a certain proportion, very quickly stop the ability of infection to spread. At our festival Goodness, we applied these bands with mixes to all the people, or we would tie them to only those who were sick. And literally, if you tie bands to everyone, nobody gets sick at all, because if bands are on the body, even when virus gets into the body, it has no power to develop. It turns out that these herbs have some kind of vibrations that the energy of the virus cannot tolerate. In other words, person's immune system greatly improves and the virus's ability to reproduce greatly decreases. Every time when people would gather at the festival, our team would spend some time to find which herbs in particular affect the virus that is now spreading in this particular year on Earth. And in a few days, we would find such herbs, made mixtures, and we got rid of this problem of respiratory diseases at our festivals. We also used these bands for our team not to get sick. But basically, I never promoted these methods to medical science, because when I was speaking to some serious doctors, they were all saying it's impossible to just introduce this method into official medicine, because no one can understand how it works. First, we applied these herbs to the skin directly, and then we noticed that even if we wrap it in cellophane and apply to the body anyway, still it is effective. And it is even surprising to know that if a person is, for example, allergic to some component, say to ginger or turmeric, when these components are applied on their body, even in plastic bags, which means components do not touch the body, still, after some time there develops an allergy. We came to a conclusion that there is some kind of certain vibrational effect of these components on the person, and these vibrations are also affecting viruses. When I began to study human energy more seriously, I realized that these distal parts of human body, the lower part of an arm and leg, this is where the energy builds up more than in other areas. And therefore, plant vibration from these places possesses a tremendous power of influence on the body. For example, if you put a band with the herb higher, the effect is not so strong as it could have been if you put components on your wrist. This is why different therapeutic magnets are also placed in these lower areas. That is for a reason. As soon as this coronavirus infection started to spread, several friends of mine fell ill, and working with them, I quickly selected all the components that affect coronavirus infection. And among them there were neem leaves, ginger, turmeric, and so on. There is a particular set of components affecting viral infections. I started mixing them in particular proportion. We have found specific proportion that very quickly affects viral infection. What kind of effect is that? If you put these bands on your body in a particular way, in literally 4 or 5 hours, a person begins to feel much better. Their temperature begins to decrease. There is no more heavy-headedness, shortness of breath decreases, coughing is over, overall health improves. A day, 2 or 3 of wearing the bands and the person even feels healthy. And we had cases when one could not wear bands because they had either ginger, turmeric or neem intolerance. So these are the only exceptions. In all the other cases we have always achieved great results. This method is practically harmless. It is very simple. You take certain components, mix them in certain proportions, put them in a plastic bag, put the bag on your left wrist and another on your left ankle and wear it for 24 hours. After 4 hours of wearing them, one feels relief. The next day, one practically does not experience symptoms of coronavirus, which is spreading now, the COVID-19, and in 3 days, one feels almost completely healthy. But we recommend that people wear bands for at least 10 days, so that the disease completely disappears. We have successfully treated around 60 people already, people who have symptoms of COVID-19, coronavirus, and we decided that it is time for us to act more seriously in this direction. By the way, for all of these people, the treatment was highly effective, and fate didn't keep us waiting for long. In Bangladesh Vaishnava temple, 36 people were reported to have COVID-19 and they were positively tested. They all started wearing our bands and just in 5-6 days, practically all of these people recovered and felt much better. Of course, apart from that, they were taking antibiotics, but they all claimed that only after they started wearing bands, they felt much better. Then we started finding people who were positively tested with COVID-19 all over the world. We successfully treated several people in Switzerland, in the US, in Russia, in the UK, in India, and so on. And now we are collecting the amount of patients we need to present this method to clinical trials. We need your help in this regard. If you have friends or acquaintances who were positively tested for coronavirus, keep in mind that the test should be positive for coronavirus in particular, because if there is some other infection, our treatment will not help. Everything is very individual. These components are selected for this particular virus only. So if you are sure that this is coronavirus, then give our contacts to your friends. You can find our contacts in the description of the video. So they will start to undergo their treatment with us. We will tell them which components exactly they should take, what should be mixed, which wrist and ankle to wear bands on. It's because this method takes an individual supervision of patient, to be sure that the components do not overload the person, that they are not causing excitation or overstrain in a person. So guidance is necessary. It's not like we tell what should be put where and the entire world immediately puts it on. Of course, now we already have developed such universal recipes as well. All the people on Earth can wear it. Mixture should be made in laboratory environment. A great number of components is mixed in very specific dosages. And nobody can do that individually because some of the components are simply inaccessible for purchase. They have to be obtained somehow. Roots of some particular trees which one may not be able to find, and so on. The essence is that there are available components, but in order to treat with them, there must be supervision. So send us information about all the people you have with confirmed cases of COVID-19 who were positively tested for it. And the majority of these people will feel better the same day. As soon as they start wearing the bands, the next day they will feel much better. In 4 or 5 days, they will be practically healthy. And they would have to keep wearing the bands to make it 10 days to be sure that no coronavirus is left in the body. And in this way, in 7-8 days in Bangladesh, all of those guys from the temple took tests again and they received negative results for coronavirus. That is a documented fact. Now we are working on statistic data for these people, which we are then sending to one of the clinics of this world in order to begin clinical trial of our method. And in this way, we can help each other. You will help us research this method, and we will help you avoid the danger of dying from this virus or develop some complications. I want to tell you that we are not treating bacterial pneumonia, which is the complication of coronavirus infection. At the stage of bacterial pneumonia, when it is hard for a person to breathe and they cannot cope themselves with this state, it is best to send this person to intensive therapy, to the hospital. And if one has temperature and symptoms like dry cough, shortness of breath, heavy-headedness, weakness, at this stage we can help a person just with this one method. So don't waste your time, contact us if you or your friends were positively tested for coronavirus, and undoubtedly we will be able to help you very quickly. Stay with us, study our method, participate in the research. I think that if you and I quickly move this method forward, it will be possible to put bans on millions of people and in this way stop the pandemic. It was great to meet you, wishing you all the best.